So sure, Trump botched pretty much everything having to do with the pandemic, but he did try to make sure that we had a vaccine. And I know that because he tried to take credit for it every chance he possibly could. He was talking about it constantly. Kayleigh McEnany was calling it the Trump vaccine. Like that was supposed to just end our concerns. Okay, sure, you didn't care, you lied about it, you talked about bleach and stuff like that, but hey, you put a little bit of money in the vaccine and we've actually got it. But unfortunately, it's looking more and more that like once it was invented, he pretty much lost interest in it. I mean, he was even openly tweeting things like the federal government has distributed the vaccine to the states. Now it's up to the states to administer. Get moving. But like that's not done. Like you don't just send the first shipment to the states and then you're good. But unfortunately, like this is from December 16th. Trump has barely said anything about the COVID-19 vaccine rollout he has long promised. And look, I think many people in December, especially considering that we were in the thick of the legal challenges, the election, everything, most people were probably fine to have Trump sort of tune out on all that. But it wasn't just, it's looking more and more like he was just not talking about it, but that he just wasn't paying any attention because we've now got a new problem with the vaccine. And that is that Biden's team is trying to get a firm grasp on the whereabouts of more than 20 million doses of vaccine that the federal government apparently bought and distributed to states, get moving, but has yet to record as being administered to patients. So we don't know where those are, if they're currently sitting somewhere. Maybe they were found and they were distributed. Maybe they never actually existed. Maybe they were never actually sent to the states. Only a very small percentage of those unaccounted for doses, roughly 2 million, are due to lags in data reporting because there's always a little bit of a lag in terms of when we find out about what was done with particular sort of amounts of the vaccine. But the rest of it could be boxed away in warehouses, it could be sitting in freezers somewhere, floating around the distribution pipeline, which is, let's just admit, that is not what you want for enough vaccine doses to fully inoculate 10 million people. They're just out there somewhere and we have no idea where. And lots of people, 3,000 to 4,000 people are still dying every single day.
They pocketed it. Come on. You telling me they didn't pocket it on their way out to be like, we gotta pay for legal fees. Like a country's gotta, host me when this is all over and I gotta, I have to leave. So it's, I think, being sold to a few Russian oligarchs who are interested, or I don't know, but Mar-a-Lago is all I'm trying to say. No, but look, it is awful that this has happened, that like, this was his job. His job was to be president. His job was to roll out this vaccine. And I just want to say that like 31 million people as of yesterday had received at least one dose of the vaccine, but only 6 million people have received both doses. And it's been more difficult to get your second appointment and to figure out, is anyone following up with you? It turns out, no, not really. And now we're talking about, well, can you swap vaccines? Maybe you can like use a Pfizer and then a Moderna. Like it is a disaster. And for Biden, the Biden administration's best intentions, it's a disaster. And not only this, but we also know that Trump didn't then buy more vaccines to guarantee more supply deep into the summer, and he could have.
Exactly. And I mean, those numbers, the drop off from 1 dose to 2 dose, we've been doing the vaccine now for slightly more than a month, which means you have weeks of people who got the first shot and now are they gonna get a second shot? I don't know. And so what does that mean? Like, are they walking around with some protection, but not as much? Are they walking around with protection that's gonna drop off sooner than it's supposed to?
Right.
It's just such a disaster. And like, I want to go to this one last graphic because this ties. Remember, like between the election and the inauguration, we were talking about the fact that they weren't talking to the Biden administration, how that's not just like a little tiff like in high school that actually matters.
Yep.
The Biden transition had only received high-level briefings on the distribution effort in the run-up to the inauguration on January 20th and was largely kept out of detailed discussions about the on-the-ground operation. But they're saying they're left out of those discussions. That's assuming the discussions were even happening. Maybe if they had been looped in more, they could have started doing the work that maybe wasn't even being done. And we've talked a lot about like all of the failures of the Trump administration. I understand Trump is not the only president that's failed on things, even big things. Every president has. You really have to ask yourself, at what point has a president willfully failed to an extent that it should obviously be illegal? Like I get that Trump is being impeached over the 6th, but like how is this not 1,000 times worse?
Absolutely.
People are dying left and right because they didn't give a damn to save their lives. And it's not just a policy disagreement. We've known this for months and months. They're letting these people die. How is that legal?
No.
And it's a crazy time, I get it. But like we're just gonna let them off, and not just Trump. He's not the only person involved in this. Mike Pence was in charge of this. Jared Kushner was involved. Scott Atlas was their big advisor. How are they allowed to kill this many people and they're just gonna go write a book or something now? How is that allowed?
Amen, John. No, it's sheer criminality. And I really do think that there should be some sort of accountability. There should be a criminal case against all of the people that you mentioned. The last thing I want to say about the bungled rollout of the vaccine and just how awful it is and how sort of cruel it is that we've talked about the countries that are not going to be seeing a lick of this vaccine for another year. The countries that are receiving sort of a very, very limited supply for maybe their like top diplomats and presidents, right? But that the general population is not going to be vaccinated for a year, right? Or more. And these are countries, they might be poorer countries, but they're also countries that have better functioning governments that actually, if they had the vaccine, would know how to distribute it. Why? Because they're also countries that have a national health care program, that have some kind of universal coverage and have some kind of state that hasn't been completely and utterly hollowed out by capitalist vultures. So all I'm saying is like, it's ridiculous that this country, the richest, the most like 300 and whatever 60 million people, right? The most deaths in the world per capita, but not because the virus has been worse here, but because our leadership has not been able to handle it, because our leadership has actively been turning a blind eye, because they're involved in our own death because of their ineptitude, and because of the ineptitude of everyday people saying, no, I'm not gonna wear a mask, I don't believe in this, and yet we're still the country that gets the vaccine first. And yet we still have that privilege. Wow.
It's like the ultimate insult to every other country. Like what percentage of the country contributed to this failure? Like way more than any past national failure where it was just our politicians or just the military or whatever, just Wall Street. Like this was a big flash mob of let's see how many people we can get killed.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.